Over the years, I've seen it all. Mistakes that send cars to the shop and leave owners regretting their choices. In this video, I'm breaking down 17 things stupid people do to their cars that are, frankly, just asking for trouble. One of them is so common, you might not even realize it's slowly destroying your car. It's what I'd call the silent killer of car performance. If you're serious about avoiding expensive repairs and humiliating breakdowns, stay with me until the end. These are the critical mistakes every car owner needs to steer clear of. Mistake number 17, frequent engine cycling. Turning the engine on and off repeatedly can cause wear. Unless you're idling for long periods, like at every stoplight, the wear is minimal. But any part used more will wear out faster. You need to judge when it makes sense to shut off the engine. For example, don't hold the clutch in for too long. Shift to neutral and use the handbrake. The same goes for waiting in traffic. If you're stopped for a few minutes, turning the engine off can help reduce wear. Some newer cars turn off the engine automatically when you stop, so it can't be that bad. Plus, it helps save fuel. Still, turning the engine off too often can cause other problems. You might flood the engine or stress parts unnecessarily. The fuel saved by turning the engine off is likely small, especially when you factor in the extra fuel to restart it. In most cases, idling for a minute or two is fine. Mistake number 16, shutting down the engine immediately after a hard drive. This is not a good practice, and you shouldn't. But in all honesty, you'll get away with it on most engines. When you turn off the engine, you stop the systems that circulate oil and coolant. These systems keep your engine cool. After a hard drive, the engine can get very hot. If you turn it off too soon, the heat stays trapped inside. This is called hot soak. The engine stays much hotter than usual. Modern cars are designed to handle these heat cycles, and they do a great job at it. Older cars, however, develop issues like cracked exhaust manifolds from thermal stress. Newer cars are more resilient to these temperature extremes. But turbocharged engines are a different story. Turbos can spin up to 100,000 revolutions per minute. If you shut off the engine too soon, you stop the oil flow to the turbo before it slows down. This can cause damage, as many turbo owners learned the hard way in the 1980s. So, if you've been driving hard, let your engine idle for a minute before turning it off. This allows everything to cool down properly. Mistake number 15, disconnecting the battery cable to test an alternator. A while ago, disconnecting the battery cable to test your alternator was a standard test. If the engine kept running after the cable was removed, it meant the alternator was working. But don't try this with modern cars. You'll fry your car's computer and expensive electronics instantly. Today's cars are packed with computers and sensitive electronics. Disconnecting the battery while the engine is running causes a dangerous voltage spike. This surge can reach 25 to 125 volts in just milliseconds. If your car was made after the 1970s, it likely has a computer. So, forget about using the old cable disconnect test. It's risky and outdated. Instead, use a voltmeter to check the alternator or visit an auto parts store for a free charging system diagnostic test. Mistake number 14, leaving old gasoline to overstay. If you're not planning to drive for several months, it's important to take precautions. Modern gasoline contains ethanol, which can break down over time. In the past, gasoline didn't have this problem. It was primarily made of octane, about 90%, septane, about 6%, and additives, about 4%. This mix could sit for months without forming varnishes. But today, with ethanol added, things have changed. Ethanol mixes with other chemicals in the fuel. This causes the fuel to separate and can create problems when you start the engine. Ethanol floats to the top of the tank. When you first start the car, it burns the regular gasoline, which isn't a big issue. But as you use more fuel, the engine starts burning the ethanol-heavy mix. This can cause firing problems and make your engine run poorly. To avoid this, fill the tank before storing the car. When you return, drive the car until the tank is half empty. Then, fill it up with fresh gasoline to keep everything running well. Mistake number 13, harsh acceleration. Your car is built to handle tough conditions, but pushing it too hard all the time isn't good for it. So, what's harsh acceleration? It's when you press the gas pedal too quickly or too hard. This sudden burst of speed puts a lot of strain on the engine and other parts. When you hit the pedal, air mixes with fuel, creating an explosion that pushes the piston. The faster this happens, the more stress it puts on your car. Imagine the engine spinning from 900 RPM to over 10,000 RPM. That's more than 10 times faster. It's a lot of pressure on the engine, clutch, gears, and bearings. Sure, cars are built for tough conditions, but constantly redlining the engine puts everything under strain. Over time, that leads to more wear and tear. This is why race cars and rally cars need constant care. They face extreme acceleration. So, take it easy on the pedal. Smooth, gradual acceleration helps your car last longer and saves you money on repairs. Mistake number 12, revving a cold engine. Whether it's a hot day or not, you should always let your engine warm up before driving aggressively. In warm temperatures, let the engine idle for at least a minute. In colder weather, give it at least 5 minutes. This gives the oil time to circulate and lubricate the engine properly. When you start a cold engine, the oil isn't fully distributed. It takes time for the oil to reach all the engine parts and provide smooth movement. Revving the engine too soon causes serious damage to the pistons, rings, and other internal components. Cold oil is thicker and doesn't flow as well, so free revving can cause severe wear. It can even lead to catastrophic engine failure. Another mistake is relying solely on the coolant temperature gauge. Oil heats up slower than the coolant, so the engine may still be cold even if the coolant is warm. To protect your engine, drive conservatively until it reaches operating temperature. Mistake number 11, running on deflated tires. When a tire is flat, the rim grinds against the pavement and causes damage to both the tire and the rim. This can drive up repair costs. Worse, driving on a flat reduces traction, making it harder to steer. This increases the risk of losing control. A flat tire also puts extra strain on your suspension and braking system. Over time, this can lead to misalignment and other costly repairs. To make matters worse, running on a flat tire consumes more fuel. If you must drive on a flat, keep your speed low. This minimizes the risk of damaging the rim and losing control of the car. It's best to drive slowly and only if absolutely necessary to get to a safer location. Prevention is always better than cure. Make routine tire maintenance a habit. Check your tires regularly for cuts, bulges, or punctures. Also, check tire pressure at least monthly using a reliable gauge. Mistake number 10, using water as a coolant. Water boils at a much lower temperature than coolant. Coolants are designed to handle the high heat inside your engine. They can take the heat without boiling, keeping your car running smoothly. If you use water, the engine can quickly overheat, especially in hot weather or under heavy load. When water boils, it creates steam pockets in the cooling system. Steam can't cool the engine, leading to hot spots. Those hot spots can warp engine parts and cause damage. Water also speeds up rust. Your car's cooling system is metal, and water can cause rust, especially untreated water. Rust leads to corrosion, leaks, and blockages. If you're not using distilled water, rust will happen even faster. In cold weather, water is even worse. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and when it freezes, it expands. This can crack hoses, radiators, and even your engine block. Coolant, on the other hand, lowers the freezing point, keeping your car safe from freeze damage. Mistake number 9, using aggressive compounds on the body paint. Modern automotive paint is thin, whether it's factory applied or from a repair. This isn't a mistake. It's done to save time and money. But because the paint is so thin, there's little room for error when fixing defects. Things like swirls, scratches, and water spots sit below the surface. To remove them, the paint needs to be lightly abraded. The issue is that any aggressive correction removes a small amount of paint. Over time, that weakens the finish and shortens its lifespan. To protect your paint, always use the least aggressive product that works. This way, you keep as much paint as possible while still fixing imperfections. The more paint you preserve, the longer your car's finish will last. For the best results, use the right tools. Have different products for different problems, stronger compounds for severe defects, medium polishes for moderate issues, and light polishes for finer corrections. Gentle cleaners and non-abrasive glazes can help maintain the finish without removing extra paint. And avoid harsh chemicals like dish soap. They can strip away protective layers and cause long-term damage to your paint. Mistake number 8, using loose floor mats and liners. When a mat shifts under your pedals, it can get caught under the accelerator. This makes it harder to brake and can lead to a loss of control, especially in an emergency. The risk of an accident increases when the mat interferes with the pedals, preventing you from reacting quickly enough. A loose mat can also distract you while driving. If it moves around, it can take your attention off the road. This could cause you to miss important road signs or hazards, putting you at risk. Even a small movement of the mat can lead to bigger problems when you least expect it. To stay safe, always use custom-fit mats designed for your car. These mats fit securely and won't shift around. Generic mats from auto parts stores often don't fit as well and are more likely to move. Make sure your mats are fastened properly with anchors or clips. Also, check your mats regularly for wear or damage and replace them when needed. Mistake number 7, parking under trees or leaking basements. You might think acids are the only culprits that damage car paint, but some of the worst offenders come from above. Tree sap is notorious for sticking to the paint. Butternuts and walnuts are even worse. They're difficult to clean and leave ugly stains. Berries from trees can also be a problem. Mulberries, elderberries, and cherries can all create a mess. When they fall on your car, they can be tough to remove, especially when in season. Avoid parking under trees during this time. Bird droppings are another threat. If you spot a bird dropping on your car, clean it off immediately. Bird waste can spoil the car's appearance, and if left for too long, can permanently damage the paint. You might even need a repaint. Also, be cautious of water leaks in parking garages. Water dripping from the ceiling can have a high lime concentration. This causes stains or damage to your car's finish, so always check for leaks when parking indoors. Mistake number 6, hanging air fresheners. You might not know this, but hanging air fresheners can actually damage your car's interior. They're often seen as a quick fix for bad smells. Unfortunately, the chemicals in cheap air fresheners can cause real harm over time. The fragrances they release contain compounds that react with your car's surfaces. This can lead to fading, discoloration, or even cracks in your dashboard. Many air fresheners use harsh chemicals. These chemicals can weaken materials like plastic and leather. Over time, they leave your interior looking worn out. The longer the air freshener hangs, the worse the damage gets. Instead, keep your car clean to prevent odors in the first place. Vacuum your seats often and wipe down surfaces regularly. You can also use air purifiers or odor-neutralizing sprays made for cars. These methods are safer and more effective than using air fresheners that will harm your interior in the long run. Before we get to the final 5, smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. These last tips are real hidden gems you can't afford to overlook. Let's get back to it. Mistake number 5, salt exposure in winter. If you live in a snowy area, winter can be harsh on your vehicle. Salt, sand, and brine from snowplows keep roads clear, but they can seriously damage your car. Salt, or sodium chloride, is used to melt ice and improve traction. It lowers the freezing point of water, which keeps roads safer, but it also causes problems for your car. The salt can corrode unprotected parts, like the undercarriage, brake lines, fuel lines, and exhaust system. Over time, this causes rust and weakens metal parts. Rusted components can be dangerous and lead to costly repairs. At the very least, expect to spend a minimum of $500. This is why you must prevent salt damage and keep your car in top shape, no matter the cost. Before winter hits, take a few steps. Wax your vehicle to protect its finish. This adds a layer of defense against salt. You can also treat the undercarriage to help prevent salt and water from sticking to metal parts. Finally, repair any chips or scratches in the paint. Bare metal exposed to salt is more likely to rust. Mistake number 4, unnecessary performance modifications. Unfortunately, not all car modifications deliver the desired outcome. In fact, some can do more harm than good. A tuner car is one that strikes the perfect balance between stock appearance and upgraded performance. But getting there takes careful planning. If you're aiming for performance, avoid some common mistakes. First, avoid installing a noisy exhaust. Loud exhausts make your car sound aggressive, but they don't improve engine power. They only waste money and create unnecessary noise. Next, be cautious about wider fenders. Some modders choose oversized tires and rims, but this requires widening the fender arches. This can damage the fenders or panels and affect the vehicle's aerodynamics. Worst of all, reducing the vehicle's performance. Larger tires and rims are another mistake. They might look impressive, but they can reduce your car's ride quality. Too large rims take more power to turn, slowing down the car and making it less responsive. This negatively impacts both performance and fuel efficiency. Remember, improper upgrades can also void your car's warranty. Know whether the mod truly enhances performance or just adds unnecessary complications. Mistake number 3, driving when the oil light is on. This oil light on your dashboard means something's wrong with your oil system. It could be that your car is low on oil, the oil pump has failed, or the oil sending unit is defective. The first 2 issues are critical and need immediate attention. If the light comes on, turn the car off and check the oil level with the dipstick. If the oil is low, add enough oil to bring it up to the proper level. Once you've done that, restart the car and drive away. However, if the oil is fine, the oil pump may have failed. This means not enough oil is circulating through the engine. In this case, you should have the car towed to a garage immediately, unless it's just a block away. If the oil sending unit is defective, the oil light will stay on even when the oil level is fine. It may be safe to drive in this case, but it's important to fix the issue quickly. If you don't, you might ignore the oil light in the future, missing signs of a failing oil pump. This could lead to serious engine damage. Mistake number 2, ignoring the check engine light. First, the engine light can be fixed or flashing. A fixed light indicates a sensor has sent a signal that is out of specification and throws a code. Some codes will reset after a few drive cycles, but it's best to check. A code reader can quickly tell you what's wrong and may even reset the light. One of the most common issues is a loose gas cap. Before you panic, check if the cap is securely tightened and in good condition. A loose or damaged cap is a simple fix that could save you a trip to the mechanic. However, a flashing engine light is more serious. It signals a problem that needs immediate attention. Ignoring a flashing light can lead to costly repairs. It could mean engine misfires or issues with the catalytic converter, which can get worse over time. Even though it's easy to put off, it's crucial to address the check engine light as soon as possible. The longer you wait, the more expensive the repairs could be. Don't ignore it. Take action to prevent bigger problems down the road. Mistake number 1, skipping regular maintenance schedule. Sure, life gets busy, but neglecting routine care can lead to costly consequences. Modern cars are built to go longer between oil changes, with some recommending intervals of 7,500 miles or more. But just because they can, doesn't mean they should be ignored. Failing to follow the maintenance schedule can lead to serious issues. For starters, not changing the engine oil can lead to engine damage. Once that happens, repairs are expensive and time-consuming. Skipping maintenance also affects fuel economy. Old oil and worn-out spark plugs make the engine work harder. The result? Lower efficiency, more fuel consumption, and more frequent stops at the pump. It doesn't stop there. Neglecting essential tasks like replacing worn tires, brakes, or windshield wipers can make driving unsafe. These are small things that keep you in control on the road, and ignoring them creates unnecessary risk. If you plan to sell your car, poor maintenance will lower its resale value. A well-maintained vehicle holds its value far better. Lastly, if you don't take care of your car, it won't last as long as it could. Taking care of your car doesn't have to be complicated, but avoiding these mistakes can save you time, money, and frustration. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button and stick around for our next video. Things you should never do in a manual transmission vehicle. See you there.